At the northernmost edge of the world, where the stars hang so low, they seem to brush against snow-covered peaks. The Cathedral of Frozen Echoes rises in the heart of the Silver Valley. This structure is not built of stone or brick, but of immense, pure ice crystals, shaped over thousands of years by wind and silence. The cathedral has no roof. Instead, the aurora borealis drifts between its towering pillars like flowing curtains of green, violet, and gold. Here, time stands as still as the surface of a frozen lake. As you walk within the cathedral, the only sound you hear is the soft rhythm of your own heartbeat, echoing through the crystal walls. The cathedral's guardian is Erwin, the Ice Weaver, his form as graceful as an ancient branch glazed with frost, his eyes shining with the brilliance of the winter sun. Erwin's duty is to gather the noisy memories, regrets, and ceaseless mental chatter carried here from all corners of the world, and freeze them into the cathedral's pillars, transforming them into silence. He believes that true peace begins only when the echoes of the past are finally stilled. One night, Elara arrived at the cathedral's crystal gates. Her life had been consumed by complex diplomatic crises, endless meetings, and the voices of thousands of people reverberating endlessly in her mind. She lived within a dense cloud of noise so vast she could no longer hear her own voice. The hum of cities, the ticking of clocks, and the weight of expectations had wrapped around her soul like armor, leaving her unable to breathe. She had not come to feel the cold, but to find the gravity of silence. Erwin met Elara beside the pool of absolute stillness at the cathedral's very center, his hands guiding snowflakes suspended in midair, each one leaving a soft musical note as it touched the walls. He did not ask Elara about her titles or achievements. Instead, he placed his hand upon her forehead where the storm in her mind raged most fiercely. "The world has filled you with too much noise," he said, his voice as clear and delicate as cracking ice. "It is time to give those sounds to the ice. They no longer belong to you. They are nothing more than dust carried by the wind." Elara sat at the edge of the pool and closed her eyes. At first, the noise in her mind grew louder. Old arguments, unfinished tasks, and fears of tomorrow rose like towering giants. Then Erwin gently struck a massive crystal pillar at the cathedral's core. A deep, resonant vibration spread through the space, penetrating to the deepest cells of the soul. The vibration touched every fragment of noise within Elara's mind. For a fleeting moment, she felt each thought transform into an ice crystal, embedding itself into the cathedral's walls, held fast. One by one, the noise froze, regrets became silvery icicles. Fears turned into fine snow scattered across the cathedral floor. Elara realized that the vast corridors of her mind had never felt so empty. So clean and so luminous, silence was no longer a frightening void. It was a warm blanket drawn gently around her. The ice pillars absorbed all her weariness and returned it as the soft glow of the aurora. Hours later, when Alara opened her eyes, the storm of the outer world had long since faded. She was no longer a bearer of noise, but a guardian of silence. Erwin offered her a small ice crystal taken from the cathedral's heart, within which a tiny aurora shimmered. "This is the core of silence," he said. "No matter how loudly the world shouts, the peace within this crystal will always remain with you." As Alara left the Silver Valley, her footsteps made no sound upon the snow. Her mind was as clear as the cathedral's pillars, her heart as light as the aurora's glow. She now understood that silence was not an absence, but the most powerful and beautiful music in the world. As the cathedral of frozen echoes disappeared into a veil of mist behind her, Alara surrendered for the first time to a deep, dreamless sleep, accompanied by the melody of infinite peace within her. High within the obsidian range, where peaks are so sharp, they seem to stitch the velvet sky to the jagged earth, lies a hidden plateau known as the Celestial Basin. It is a place of impossible beauty, where the ground is made of crushed obsidian that mirrors the infinite cosmos. At its center rests a vast circular pool filled with liquid starlight. Neither water nor fire, but a cool, glowing essence humming with the universe's original frequency. It is said that when the stars grow dim from watching the world's sorrows, they descend here to bathe and return to the sky renewed. The basin's guardian is Asteria, whose skin resembles a deep nebula, and whose hair flows like silver comets. She cleans the light not with tools, but with a comb of frozen moonlight, drawing out ancient worries and the soot of forgotten dreams. She knows every soul is bound to a star, and if a star fades, the heart below loses its way. One breathless midnight, an astronomer named Silas reached the plateau's edge. He had spent his life measuring the heavens through lenses of glass and brass, mapping stars with ruthless precision. But the modern world had worn him thin. The sky had become a ticking clock. Not a wonder. His mind was full of formulas, his heart hollow with exhaustion. Asteria met him at the pool's edge, smelling of mountain air and cosmic ozone. She saw the fatigue in his eyes and the tension in his hands. She did not ask for his credentials. She simply gestured for him to sit and dip his hands into the starlight. "You have measured the light," she whispered, her voice like distant bells. "But you have never allowed the light to measure you. The mind sees distance. The soul remembers home." Silas hesitated. Logic screamed impossibility. But when he submerged his hands, the sensation defied language. It was cool but not wet, weightless yet grounding. As the starlight flowed around his fingers, formulas dissolved, deadlines loosened. The fear of insignificance peeled away like old skin. Looking into the basin, he saw more than stars. He saw himself, not as an observer, but as part of the dance. The light he had studied all his life lived within him. His burnout was not failure, but a neglected spirit asking to be heard. The frantic ticking in his mind ceased, replaced by the slow pulse of the universe. His inner ember ignited, steady, warm, alive. The weight in his shoulders melted into the obsidian sand. He remained until dawn painted the sky in rose and gold before he left. Asteria handed him a small glass vial containing a single drop of starlight. A fragment of the infinite, she said. When the world feels like a cage of facts, remember, you are a child of the stars. Silas descended the obsidian range, changed. He returned to his observatories, but no longer searched for distance. He searched for connection. He taught that astronomy was not about how far the stars are, but how close we are to them. And wherever he went, he carried the celestial basin within him, a sanctuary where the light is pure and the soul is always awake. Nestled within the velvet folds of the amethyst veil, where mountains rest beneath permanent lavender shadows, and the air brushes the skin like cool silk, lies the orchard of whispering silks. This is no ordinary forest. The trees called silk oaks have trunks smooth as polished jade, and their leaves are not green, but living fabric. Thousands of shimmering ribbons in emerald gold and deep violet drift from their branches, swaying in a gentle wind scented with dried lavender and old parchment. When the breeze moves, the orchard does not rustle, it sighs, 1,000 soft breaths reminding the soul it may finally loosen its armor. The guardian of this sanctuary is Leora, whose fingers are as delicate as weaving needles, and whose robes shift through every hue of the veil. She speaks not with commands, but through presence, calming the frantic vibrations of worn spirits. Her task is to tend the frayed spirits, those thinned by the friction of the world. She believes the heart is a tapestry, and that sometimes it must be unraveled to be gently rewoven. One humid evening, Kalen, a master weaver from the Sun Cities, arrived at the Vale renowned for crafting garments for emperors and queens. He had spent his life chasing perfection. Yet the endless demands, the clatter of looms, and the noise of marketplaces had left his hands trembling and his senses dulled. He could no longer feel softness. Everything seemed coarse, abrasive. He came not for inspiration, but because he felt himself coming apart. Leora met him beneath a great golden silk oak glowing with amber light. She noticed the tension in his jaw and the restlessness in his eyes. She asked nothing of his craft. Instead, she placed a fallen ribbon of midnight blue silk into his hands. "You have tried to bind the world into perfect shapes," she whispered, her voice like a distant cello. "But the soul cannot be tailored. Close your eyes, weaver of burdens, and listen to the texture of the wind." Kalen sat upon silver moss, clutching the ribbon. At first, his mind searched for structure, thread count, dye technique. But the orchard moved too slowly for analysis. The silken sighs synchronized with his heartbeat, drawing him into stillness. As his fingers traced the ribbon, the sharp edges of his thoughts softened dead lines, criticism and perfectionism frayed into the lavender mist. He understood then that he had lived as a display piece, not a living fabric. The orchard revealed that the most beautiful patterns emerge when control is released. The iron tension in his hands melted away. He was no longer a master weaver. He was a single thread, finally resting within a greater design. The vibration in his nerves faded, replaced by the slow, steady breathing of the veil. His spirit unfurled, no longer a knot, but a calm, flowing river. The weight on his chest dissolved into the silking air. He remained until moonlight turned the mountains deep indigo. When he rose to leave, Leora handed him a small woven sachet filled with silk flower petals. "This is the essence of stillness," she said. "When the world feels too rough, remember the orchard where the wind is made of silk." Kalen left the amethyst veil transformed. He returned to his looms, no longer chasing perfection, but crafting fabrics that felt like an embrace. And wherever he went, he carried the orchard of whispering silks within him. A sanctuary where every thread is soft, and the soul is finally at rest. Deep beneath the golden fields of Ethelgard, where the wheat grows as tall as a man and waves like a sea of liquid fire, under the harvest moon lies the vault of the amber sunset. It is a subterranean sanctuary carved from solid honey calcite, its walls glowing with a soft internal warmth that feels like the touch of a summer afternoon. Within this vast circular chamber are thousands of shelves made of polished cedarwood, each holding hundreds of small, hand-blown amber jars. These jars do not contain spices or jewels. They hold the essence of forgotten warmth, the feeling of the sun on a child's face, the glow of a first campfire, and the golden peace of a perfect autumn evening. The guardian of this warm sanctuary is an elder named Solara, whose skin is the color of burnished bronze and whose robes are woven from the orange and crimson threads of a setting sun. Solara does not speak in the language of men, but in a low, resonant hum that vibrates in the chest of those who enter, a sound that mimics the rhythmic crackle of a dying fire. Her task is to tend to the cold hearts, those who have lived too long in the shadows of cynicism, whose spirits have become brittle and frozen by the harsh winters of loss, and the gray, sterile light of logic. She believes that the soul is like a hearth. If the fire is not fed with warmth, the house of the spirit becomes a cold and lonely place. One shivering autumn evening, a scholar of law named Marcus reached the hidden entrance beneath a lone oak tree. Marcus was a man of cold facts, rigid structures, and the heavy weight of unyielding judgment. He had spent his life in the dark, stone halls of the high courts, surrounded by the gray ink of bureaucracy and the icy breath of institutional order. He had analyzed the world so much that he had forgotten how to feel its glow. His mind was a labyrinth of sharp angles and cold conclusions, and his heart felt like a block of unhewn granite. He He sought the vault not for a miracle, but because his very bones felt a chill that no fire in the city could ever hope to thaw. Solar met him in the center of the vault, beneath a great chandelier made of sunstones that cast long, amber shadows across the floor. She did not ask for his credentials or his defense. She simply walked to a shelf and chose a small, glowing jar that pulsed with a soft, drifting orange light. You have built a world of ice to protect yourself from the heat of life. She hummed, her voice vibrating with the warmth of 1,000 hearts. But the cold has become your prison, not your shield. Close your eyes, judge of shadows, and taste the gold you have forgotten. She opened the jar, and a faint, swirling mist of amber light began to fill the air. It smelled of sun-warmed hay, dry pine needles, and the sweet scent of rain on hot stone. As Marcus breathed in the mist, a door in his mind that had been locked for decades slowly creaked open. He remembered a Tuesday afternoon from his childhood, sitting in a field of tall grass, watching a ladybug crawl across his thumb. He remembered the way the golden sun felt on his neck, and the absolute, uncomplicated safety of that moment. It wasn't a memory of a fact. It was a memory of a feeling. The ice in his chest began to crack and melt. The rigid structures of his logic, the sharp angles of his judgment, and the heavy burden of his cold world began to dissolve into the amber glow. He realized that he had spent his life trying to order the world, when all he really needed was to belong to it. The vault of amber sunsets was a reminder that warmth is not a luxury, but the very foundation of the soul. He felt the iron tension in his brow soften, and the gray fog in his eyes turned into a steady, golden clarity. He stayed in the vault until his spirit felt as warm and pliable as beeswax. When he finally rose to leave, Solar handed him a small, unlit candle that smelled of honey and sun. "This is the Ember of Ethelgard," she said. "Whenever the cold world tries to freeze your heart, deep within the azure canyons, where cliffs glow in cobalt and indigo, and the air carries the cool scent of wet stone, lies the entrance to the Silver Grotto. This is no dark cave, but a vast subterranean cathedral of translucent quartz and shimmering mica thousands of slender stalactites, hang like crystal needles, each tuned to a perfect frequency. When mineral-rich water drips from above, it does not splash. It sings, releasing pure notes that linger in the air and vibrate through bone and breath. The grotto is a living echo chamber where the earth composes a slow, healing symphony. The guardian of this sanctuary is Thrum, a being of polished obsidian whose movements create a low, steady drone, the bass note of the cave's music. He does not see with eyes, but feels the sound shadows of the heart. His task is to tend the overtuned, those stretched too tight by noise and expectation, who have lost the sound of their own souls. Thrum believes every being has an original note, and forgetting it means falling out of harmony with existence. One quiet evening, Lyra, the most celebrated singer of the great capitals, reached the canyon's edge. Her voice had moved thousands to tears, yet endless applause and relentless performance had hollowed her. She had sung so much for others that she could no longer hear herself. Her throat felt clenched, her breath heavy with exhaustion. She came not to find a new song, but to find a place where she did not have to be a voice at all, where she could be silence. Thrum met her in the chamber of the first vibration, where the air was so still even breathing felt loud. He asked for no performance. He guided her to stand within a circle of silver-tipped stone. You have given your breath to the world until none remains for you. His voice resonated through the floor. Close your eyes, voice of echoes, and let the stone sing. A single drop of water fell, striking crystal with a clear, piercing chime. Another followed, deep and resonant. Slowly, the cave filled with a hypnotic rhythm. Lyra tried to analyze it, to find structure, but the sound was older than thought. It vibrated against the tightness in her throat, loosening knots she hadn't known she carried. She realized she had used her voice as armor, pleasing a world that never stopped asking. The grotto taught her that her true voice lived not in sound, but in the silence between notes. The weight of fame, reviews, demands, perfection sank into the dark pools below and dissolved. The need to be someone faded, replaced by a quiet sense of belonging. She was no longer a singer, but a vessel, allowing the universe to move through her. Her lungs opened, her breath became wide and cool. She remained until the cave's rhythm matched her heartbeat. When she finally left, Thrum placed a small quartz shard in her hand, vibrating with a gentle hum. "This is your original note," he said. "When the world grows loud, listen. Your voice is not for others. It is a sanctuary for yourself." Lyra emerged from the azure canyons changed. She returned to the capitals not as a performer, but as a listener. She sang only when the song arrived, quiet and true. And wherever she stood, she carried the silver grotto within her, a sanctuary where every note is honest, and the soul is finally heard. High above the jagged peaks of the world's end, where the air is so thin and pure it tastes of cold starlight, rises the spire of whispering Zephyrs. This is not a tower of stone or iron, but a living structure woven from cedar, white silk, and polished ivory. Designed to breathe with the heavens, its walls are lined with thousands of hollow silver flutes that capture the high-altitude winds, turning every passing gust into a soft, ethereal melody. Every floor hums with gentle vibration. Every window opens onto an endless sea of rolling clouds. Gravity loosens its hold here, and the soul feels light enough to drift into the violet infinity. The guardian of this sky-bound sanctuary is Zephyrs, a translucent being formed of summer mist and silver threads. He moves with weightless grace, carrying the scent of mountain ozone and wild jasmine. His task is to tend the heavy-hearted, those who have spent their lives building walls and forcing boundaries, and bearing the crushing illusion that they must hold the world together. Zephyrs believes peace begins when one dares to release control and allow the wind to carry the weight. One breathless evening, a master cartographer named Veiling reached the highest balcony of the Spire. His life had been devoted to mapping the world, drawing borders, measuring mountains, defining kingdoms with ruthless precision. He was a man of ink and parchment, of rules and exactness, yet years of measuring had left him feeling dense and burdened, as if every map he had drawn now pressed against his chest. He no longer saw the world itself, only the lines he had imposed upon it. He came not for perspective, but because he could no longer stand beneath the weight of his own certainty. Zephyros met him on the terrace of infinite horizons, where the wind sings through the silver flutes. He did not ask for maps or instruments. He simply gestured for Valen to stand at the edge and spread his arms. "You have tried to cage the world in ink," Zephyros whispered, his voice like silk brushing silk. "But the wind has no borders, and the sky recognizes no lines. Close your eyes, weaver of boundaries, and let the air take what you no longer need." A warm gust surged upward from the valleys below, passing through the spire and forming a deep, resonant chord that vibrated through Valen's bones. His mind instinctively tried to calculate speed, direction, origin, but the air was too vast, too fluid. It began to pull at the rigid lines in his thoughts, loosening the ink of memory and the parchment of worry. He understood then that he had tried to map something meant to move and breathe. The spire revealed a quiet truth. The world did not need him to hold it together. It was already holding him. The iron weight on his chest dissolved into the clear sky. Measurement gave way to wonder. He was no longer a cartographer, but a feather, finally resting in motion. The urge to define and control faded, replaced by a deep, weightless freedom. The tension in his shoulders vanished into silver mist. He remained until starlight danced between the silk sails. When he departed, Zephyros placed an iridescent feather in his hand. "A fragment of the sky," he said. "When the world feels heavy, remember, the path is not a line. It is a breath." Valen descended from the peaks transformed. He returned to his cities, not drawing borders, but connections, maps of wind, movement, and belonging. And wherever he walked, he carried the spire of whispering zephyrs within him, a sanctuary where burdens lift, and the soul is finally free to soar. Hidden within the deep indigo valleys of the twilight, realm where the sun never fully sets and the moon never fully rises, lies the archive of luminescent shadows. It is a vast open-air library
carved into a canyon of pure moonstone. Here, books are not paper or ink, but captured light and shaped shadow. Along thousands of softly glowing shelves, the memories of the world are preserved as living silhouettes. In this place, shadow is not darkness, but proof of light. Every joy, sorrow, and doubt exists as a moving figure of charcoal and gold, performing an endless, silent ballet across the stone. The guardian of the archive is Umbra, whose form shifts like woven grey silk threaded with amber light. She does not explain the archive with words, she guides it through motion, her hands conducting shadows into gentle harmony. Her task is to tend the shadow-fearers, those who flee their pasts, erase their mistakes, and hide their darker moments behind relentless brightness. Umbra believes wholeness comes not from denial, but from acceptance, and that rest begins when one realizes shadows are companions, not enemies. One quiet evening, Ilian, a famed architect of light, arrived at the Indigo Valley. Across the kingdoms he was known for cities of glass and gold, places where shadows were forbidden. Obsessed with clarity and perfection, he had banished darkness from every design. Yet the constant glare had left him hollow. His mind was a white desert of flawlessness, his heart brittle from exposure. Light no longer comforted him, it interrogated him. He came not to shine, but to hide. Umbra met him at the arch of the silver moon, where shadows lay like velvet against the stone. She asked nothing of his plans, she guided him into the hall of flickering memories, where the shadows of his own life waited. You built a world without shadows, she whispered, her voice like night wind. But pure light exhausts the soul. Close your eyes, architect of the sun, and receive the grace of shade. As Ilian walked, silhouettes unfolded along the walls. Failures he had buried, grief he had sealed away. Yet here, they were not frightening. They flowed with elegance, giving the moonstone depth and meaning. He saw that without them the walls would be empty. Lifeless, his darkest moments were not flaws. They were what gave his light dimension. The blinding noise in his mind softened into a luminous gray. The need for perfection dissolved into rhythm. He understood he did not need to be flawless, only whole. The pressure of endless brightness lifted, replaced by cool, balanced peace. He was no longer an architect of light alone, but a dancer within shadow. The hunger to be seen faded into belonging. He was not a sun, but a moon, reflecting beauty through contrast. The burning tension behind his eyes vanished into indigo calm. He remained until twin moons turned the canyon into silver and smoke. When he left, Umbra placed a polished moonstone in his hand, containing a single swirl of golden shadow. "This is your shadow light," she said. "When the world's glare grows harsh, remember, you are not only light, you are the mystery. It creates." Ilion left the Indigo Valley transformed. He returned to his cities and built spaces of gentle illumination and healing shade. And wherever he stood, he carried the archive of luminescent shadows within him. A sanctuary where every memory is honored. And the soul finally rests in balance. At the very center of the universe, hidden within a fold of space and time that can only be found by those who have stopped looking for a destination, lies the sanctuary of the eternal dream. This is not a grand palace or a distant star, but a small, humble cottage made of ancient cedarwood and sun-warmed stone. Nestled in a valley where the grass is always golden, and the sky is a permanent, soft tapestry of twilight. At the heart of this cottage is the hearth, a fireplace built from the first stones of the world where a single magnificent amber ember burns with a steady, rhythmic glow. This is the golden ember, the source of all warmth, all peace, and every dream that has ever brought comfort to a weary soul. Here, the air does not just move. It breathes with a deep maternal cadence that tells the heart it is finally, eternally safe. The guardian of this final sanctuary is the keeper of the ember, an ancient being whose face is a map of kindness and whose robes are woven from the softest shadows and the warmest light. The keeper does not move or speak in the way of the world. They exist as a presence of absolute acceptance. Their task is to welcome the final voyagers, those who have traveled through the cathedrals of ice, the deserts of stardust, and the archives of shadows, and who are finally ready to lay down the last remnants of their journey. They believe that every life is a long walk toward this single hearth, and that the greatest joy is the moment we realize we no longer need to carry ourselves. One breathless, star-crowned evening, a nameless traveler reached the wooden door of the cottage. This traveler had seen everything: the wind spires, the silken orchards, and the hominic valleys. Their spirit was a rich tapestry of experiences, but it was also heavy with the fatigue of 1,000 lives. They were not looking for a new map or a new story. They were looking for a place where the story finally ends. They felt like a candle that had burned through the night, a flame that was ready to return to the warmth of the fire from which it was born. The keeper met them at the threshold, the golden light of the hearth spilling out across the traveler's tired feet. There were no questions asked, no judgments passed, and no explanations needed. The keeper simply gestured to a soft, velvet armchair beside the fire, draped in a blanket made of woven twilight and lavender dreams. You have walked the circles of the world until you have found the center. The keeper's voice vibrated softly in the air, a sound like the slow crackle of wood and the distant hum of the earth. Your journey was beautiful, but it is over now. Here you do not need to be a traveler, a hero, or a seeker. You only need to be the warmth. Close your eyes, child of the Ember, and come home. As the traveler sat, the warmth from the hearth began to seep into their very bones. It wasn't just a physical heat, it was a spiritual embrace. The golden ember pulsed in the grate, and with every pulse, the traveler's memories of the world, the names, the faces, the triumphs, and the sorrows, began to glow with a soft amber light. They realized that they weren't losing their stories, they were simply allowing them to become part of the great eternal fire. The heavy iron weight of self, the constant effort of existing, dissolved into the cedar-scented air. The rhythmic breathing of the cottage began to match the traveler's own breath. The noise of existence, the ticking of time, the gravity of the earth, the boundaries of the mind vanished into the steady golden glow of the hearth. They felt themselves expanding, no longer confined to a single body or a single life, but becoming the warmth of the room, the scent of the wood, and the peace of the valley. The vault of amber sunsets, the spire of Zephyrs, and the archive of shadows were all here, combined into one single perfect moment of rest. The frantic quest for meaning was replaced by the simple, luminous fact of being. They weren't a voyager anymore, they were the dream itself, finally resting in the heart of the fire. The tension in their spirit, which had been held tight for an eternity, finally let go, drifting away like a single spark rising into the night sky. They stayed by the hearth as the twilight outside deepened into a ruyasis, peace. When they finally closed their eyes for the last time, they saw the golden ember reflected in their own heart, a steady flame that would never go out. The keeper smiled, and as the cottage faded into the soft mist of the eternal dream, a single golden whisper filled the silence. Rest now. You have always been the light. In a hidden fold of the Silver Mist Mountains, where the wind whispers in ancient tongues, and the snow falls as light as down feathers, lies the mirror lake of Ethelis. It is a body of water so still and so clear that it does not seem to be made of liquid at all, but of a single vast sheet of polished diamond. The lake does not reflect the world as it is. It reflects the world as it dreams to be. When the stars align over its surface, the water becomes a window into a realm of pure, undisturbed clarity, where the shadows of doubt cannot survive the light of truth. The guardian of this sacred lake is a being named Selene, whose skin is the color of moonlight on water, and whose eyes hold the depth of 1,000 calm nights. She does not carry a weapon or a staff. Instead, she holds a small silver bowl filled with the lake's water. Selene's task is to greet those who have lost sight of their own reflection in the chaotic mirrors of the world. She believes that the greatest tragedy is not losing one's way, but losing the memory of the light that lives within. One winter evening, when the frost had turned the surrounding willows into crystalline sculptures, a merchant named Calum reached the lake's edge. Calum had spent his life in the golden markets of the south, a man of trade, numbers, and endless negotiations. His mind was a cluttered treasury of debts, profits, and the constant fear of losing what he had gained. He had looked into 1,000 mirrors in his fine mansion, but all he ever saw was a man tired of his own success. The noise of the marketplace had followed him even into the silence of the mountains, a relentless hum of anxiety that he could not silence. Celine met him at the shore, the silver bowl in her hands glowing with a soft, rhythmic pulse. She did not ask for his gold or his titles. She simply gestured toward the surface of the lake. "You have spent your life looking at the surface of things," she whispered, her voice sounding like the first drop of rain on a parched leaf. "But the lake does not care for the surface. It looks at the Ember. Step closer, traveler of the shifting sands." Calum knelt at the water's edge, his breath coming in short, frozen gasps. At first, as he looked down, he saw only the face he knew, lined with stress, eyes darting with the habit of calculation. But as Celine poured a single drop from her silver bowl into the lake, a ripple of violet light expanded across the water. The reflection changed. The merchant's fine clothes and the tired lines of his face dissolved. In their place, he saw a vision of himself as a young boy, standing in a sunlit field holding nothing but a handful of wild seeds. He saw the pure, uncomplicated joy in that child's eyes, a light that didn't depend on profit or loss. He realized that this boy was still there, buried under the heavy layers of the man he had forced himself to become. The mirror lake was showing him his original Ember, the part of his soul that the world could never truly touch or tarnish. The frantic noise in Calum's mind, the ledgers, the coins, the deadlines, began to sink into the depths of the lake, turning into harmless silt at the bottom. The heavy iron weight in his chest was replaced by the cool, luminous peace of the mountain air. He wasn't a merchant anymore. He was a soul that had finally remembered how to breathe. He stayed by the lake until the twin moons began to set, casting long silver shadows across the ice. When he finally stood up, his heart felt as clear and steady as the water itself. Celine smiled, and as she did, the lake gave off a final brilliant flash of amber light. "The reflection you see now is the one you must carry back," she said. "The world will try to cloud it, but remember, the lake is always within you." Calum descended from the silver mist mountain not as a man returning to his business, but as a man returning to his life. He still traded in the markets, but he did so with a kind hand and a quiet spirit. He knew that his true wealth was not in his treasury, but in the stillness he had found at Ethelys, a mirror that showed him that the most beautiful thing one can possess is a heart that knows its own light.
Far above the great plains of the east, where the land falls away into a sheer, infinite drop, rise the wind spires of Zephyria. These are colossal, slender needles of obsidian and jade that pierce the very belly of the clouds, reaching for a sky that is always a deep, bruised violet. The spires are hollow, carved with thousands of intricate flutes and channels by the relentless hands of the high-altitude winds. When the breeze moves through them, the entire mountain range becomes a musical instrument of the gods, singing a low, haunting melody that can be felt in the soul long before it is heard by the ears. The guardian of these heights is an elemental being named Aeon, whose form is composed of swirling mist and the iridescent feathers of skyhawks. Aeon does not speak in a traditional sense. Instead, he manipulates the air currents to hum against the jade walls, creating a language of pure resonance. His task is to curate the symphony of the unspoken, the collection of all the prayers, hopes, and promises that were too deep to ever be put into words. He believes that language is a bridge, but silence is the destination. One autumn afternoon, as the wind carried the scent of distant cedar forests, a celebrated orator named Julian reached the base of the highest spire. Julian was a man of silver-tongued fame, known in the capital cities for his ability to sway crowds and command empires with his voice. But his success had come at a price. His mind was a chaotic library of speeches, arguments, and clever retorts. He had spoken so much that his words had lost their weight. They felt like dry leaves rattling in a hollow box. He had forgotten how to listen. His internal monologue a constant, deafening roar that drowned out the quiet magic of the world. Aeon met him at the Bridge of Sighs, a narrow arch of clouds that connected the two tallest peaks. The Guardian did not ask for Julian's credentials or his famous stories. He simply beckoned the orator to the very tip of the Jade Spire, where the wind was strongest. You have spent your life using words to build walls. Aeon's melody vibrated through the stone beneath Julian's feet. But here, the wind tears down all structures. It does not want your voice. It wants your breath. Sit, speaker of hollow echoes. Julian sat upon the cold jade, his mind instinctively forming a protest, a defense, a witty reply. But as the gale-force winds began to whistle through the flutes of the spire, the sheer volume of the celestial music overwhelmed his thoughts. The jade began to vibrate at a frequency that matched the frantic rhythm of his heart. At first, Julian felt a sense of panic, a fear of the silence that lay beneath the sound. He tried to speak, but the wind took his words before they could leave his lips, scattering them like dust into the violet abyss. Slowly, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long amber shadows across the clouds, the internal roar in Julian's mind began to fade. He noticed that the wind didn't just have one sound. It had 1,000. He heard the rustle of the stars, the slow rotation of the earth, and the soft pulse of the life force that connects all living things. He realized that the most powerful messages are the ones that require no vocabulary. The wind spires were showing him that beneath the clutter of his intellect, there was a vast, open sky of awareness. The heavy, iron weight of his public persona, the expectations, the fame, the need to be heard, was stripped away by the mountain breeze. He wasn't a great orator anymore. He was a silent observer, finally at home in the vastness of the unspoken. The tension in his throat, which had felt like a tightened cord for years, finally dissolved into the misty air. He stayed on the peak until the first constellation of the dream night appeared. When he finally stood up, his spirit felt as light and clear as the air itself. Aeon shimmered, and as he did, the spires played a final deep chord of golden amber resonance. The wind will follow you now, the Guardian hummed,
Whenever you feel the need to fill the world with noise, remember the jade and the silence it holds. Julian descended from the wind spires not as a man returning to his podium, but as a man returning to the truth he still spoke in the cities. But his words were few, chosen with the care of a jeweler. He spoke only when his silence could no longer hold the beauty of what he had to say. He knew that his true strength was not in his voice.